Oh snap! What's that you got on?
Yo, these new R.1s by Randy.
I'm in the future with this. I'm stepping on top of the world. These are the new R.1s by Rampage. Order right now. Land to land, sea to sea, state to state. These are official. Don't wait. The R.1s by Rampage. Rated R Empire. Yep.
Hey, get your pair right now by going into the description box and clicking the link at the top line of the description box. Tell them your boy Old God and Sandman from the Hip Hop Uncensored podcast sent you.
Folk who are just trying to make a living and stay humble.
I think it's a good segue to go into what Kanye was saying about hip hop and Jewish executives. In one particular comment, he talked about how, in black hip hop music, we could talk about kill this, nigga that, and it's pretty much there's no outrage, black on black. But as soon as somebody says something about the Jewish people, it seems like it's all hell breaks loose. But a lot of these execs we already established in hip hop are Jewish. How come they promote, fund, the destruction of black people through the music? But as soon as somebody says something about Jewish people, it's all hell breaks loose. But when it's black people, it's like they fund that and they don't care.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, but it's such a complex thing because no one should have the right to, the fact that they're promoting violence and drugs and then making that an avenue of like financial success. So now I'm a young African American kid and I want to get some money when I'm older. I got to start like training myself. If I want money, I got to rap about killing and drugs and and be hardcore. So that's something that's being set by the Jewish people. But let me ask you a few questions just on this. Let's say like, and I'm not a professional. Like let's look at like Def Jam Records or like, some of these guys. Is there African American owned media that's still promoting, violence and drugs and gangster living outside of Jewish ownership? Is that exclusive only to Jews owning these companies, or there's also African American owned?
What company does African Americans own?
I don't know. That's why I'm saying this question out of ignorance. I was asking you more.
It's usually a part. It's usually like a sometimes it's a partnership deal, but most of the time it's Jewish owned. They'll have like Def Jam, Rockefeller,
Records and all this. Is a Jewish guy at the top of it?
Say it again. I didn't hear that part. The first
Like
part.
Def Jam Records or NWO or whatever it is. These are Jewish owned things at the top of it.
Like Def Jam, for example. Sorry to cut you off. The current CEO of Def Jam, his name is Paul Rozenberg. He's been there since January 1st, 2018. The founders were Rick Rubin and Russell Simmons. So,
right. So I get what you're saying. Yeah, we do, participate in it as well. I get where you're trying to go with that as well. But it's still the underlying issue of the majority of these companies being ran by Jewish people that promote and fund this message. Can we agree with that?
Yeah, it seems very shady. It seems that there should be, these are, I don't know if these are people that have like rabbis that could even call them. These are like rabbi-less individuals. These are godless individuals. These aren't people that have God in their lives. So it's not like we can get all the rabbis together and like sit them down and have a sit down. Well, they're going to listen to the rabbi. They're not even listening to God. How they're going to listen to a rabbi? But I'm with you on the fact that there should be no Jew involved.
Lost him for a second. Hopefully he jumps. Hold on, device got disconnected. We got Rabbi Harry Rozenberg on the Hip Hop Uncensored podcast and a powerful, powerful conversation. Hopefully, there he is right there. He's back in there. All right, we see you.
Yeah, I had this phone call coming in. It shuts it off. But I'm with you. If there was like a march against Jews who are promoting drugs and violence in the African American community and creating a poisonic, toxic environment for you guys, I'm on your team. That's totally evil. But like I said, I think these Jews finding these roles are serving something darker and higher than themselves. They're not the boss. Like they're getting a paycheck from someone also, and that someone's the guy that the ADL is like, don't get to him. Like, don't get to the top of the ladder. Who these guys working for? You can't talk about that. And so I'm always curious, like, who's really calling the shots? Because it's not the Jewish people. It's some dark darker fraternity stuff. You know what I'm saying?
And it to the best of your knowledge, who do you think, or in your opinion, who do you think those higher up people are, and where do you think the separation came between Jewish executives in Hollywood and music and yourself? Let's just put it like that.
I think the guys who are really at the top, you don't get to know their names because they pay for you not to know who they are, you know? So the names that we're even given are the names that they let us get, you know? So you're going to throw out like, oh, Rockefeller and this name and that name. Those are the names they gave us access to. The names that we don't get access to is because they're the ones who are owning the wealth of the world, you know, calling the shots with wars, you know, and creating agendas to manipulate humanity. But where it stops and, you know, separates me from these individuals is they give an allegiance to something that's not Jewish. You know, these guys are all part of fraternities, you know, whether it's Masonic or, you know, their clubs from college, their, you know, with their Greek symbols and their cults and their rituals. I know, you know, I don't want to get too deep into it until the right time is, because this is like even dangerous for me to be talking about this type of stuff because we're up against a very dark force, you know. But these are people who get paid by these entities, are loyal to these entities, and the Jewish people are just trying to unite the tribes, the lost tribes, and build a temple for all humanity and bring world peace. There's like two totally different realities. And I think if you looked at, like, you know, the last few hundred years of Europe, when these Jews started joining these fraternities and getting involved in the banks and the wealth and financing wars, they started taking on customs and traditions that had nothing to do with the Jewish people and the Torah. So there's just this divide going on, and the Jewish people aren't so aware of it. So part of my job is to explain it, and even part of the Jewish prophecies and our legends, we believe within the Jewish people there will be a dark side in the future that we're going to have to deal with. My ancestors taught this 400 years ago. I was a famous rabbi. I speak about this, and so I have a job to educate my people of stop defending the evil within us, because that's going to hold us back from the ingathering, the redemption, and uniting with the lost tribes of Israel, which seems part of them came to America on these slave ships. So there's an agenda that doesn't want, like I said before, your community and my community building. That's the last thing they're going to want. They're going to want us to be divided, calling each other enemies, and do everything in their power to make sure a healthy conversation doesn't come out of what's going on.
I want to kind of go back to the slavery real quick, because I wanted to add something in there, because we came to a consensus, and correct me if I'm wrong anywhere, that Jewish people, you know, insured some of the slave ships, and that they, you know, helped fund slavery, right or wrong, before we go on.
I read this from people who
Right.
reported it. I don't know enough about this,
Okay.
but it would make sense to me. Jewish people are in almost every business in the world.
So with that being said, you don't think that they should have to pay reparations for that?
Facts, they should. That's not the Jewish people. That's not the state of Israel. That's going to be individual families who you should be able to trace till today of what business is their family in. So, you know, let's say it's the Levi family insured some slave ships. I'd want to see what's the great great grandson of this Levi guy doing today. Does he got a big corporation? Maybe we could approach them with humility and love instead of angrily demanding reparations. Be like, you know, maybe give 10% of your revenue back towards community food forests, where we could have organic medicine and edible foods in our community to help alleviate poverty and health. So who knows what, you know, what it is, but it's not the Jewish people. Is the descendants of those specific families that insured those ships have to take responsibility. And if they don't, America should take responsibility. And if not them, the Muslim slave trade that sold these people originally to these Jewish ships should take responsibility. At the end of the day, I think the African American community has to make a choice. Do they feel like they're God's chosen people who came to the ships on America from prophecy? Or are they not, and they just got taken from whatever religion they were in Africa? And that's not, you know, it's not cool, because if they're God's chosen people, then them getting taken on the ships is part of the prophecy. So what's all of a sudden now they're getting upset? But I thought, didn't you just say this was prophesized and God chose you to do this
Right.
mission? So, you know,
Correct. If that's the case, when do those curses run out? At what point?
hey, that's between you guys and God. But if you look at the story of Joseph in the Bible, Joseph was sold into slavery by his brothers, and then he gets to rise to second in power in Egypt, and then his brothers roll through to buy food, and Joseph, he like sets him up in a trap, and he's like reveals to them, yo, I'm Joseph, I'm the one you sold as a slave, now I'm second in power. And the brothers thought he was going to get revenge and kill them. And he's like, no, 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 no. It's all good. I'm your brother and I love you. Don't you see this was all from God? He didn't get angry. He didn't play the blame game. He didn't say to the brothers, where's mine? He did it. He rose up and he just forgave because he saw it was God's plan. And I'm not telling you guys to turn a cheek and look the other way, but what do you feel? Are you God's chosen people who came on the ships? So then it's not between you and the white man. This is between you and God.
Now, this is a hypothetical question because obviously it didn't play out the way it played out. But let's say the roles were reversed and it was Black people in the higher position after coming off of their atrocities of their Holocaust, and it was the Jewish community who sat back oppressed in America. How would your feelings be? How would your thought process be? Would it be a feeling of anger, or would you still practice turn the other cheek and let's see how this plays out?
It wouldn't be anger because being angry is not strategic. Angry doesn't make you function better, doesn't make you smarter, doesn't make you more cunning. The Jewish people have an edge over almost all other humans on the planet is our unity within each other. So let's say I'm traveling around the world, I can get lost in any city in the world. I'll find the nearest Jewish person. They don't know who I am for a hole in the wall, but they'll take me into their house, they'll feed me, they'll give me a loan, they'll take care of me. The Jewish people internationally, without knowing each other, have a love and a bound responsibility to protect one another. So wherever the Jewish people were in exile, when we were the underdogs, which happened for the last 2,000 years, we always banded together, made a strategy, and figured out how to get out of there or manipulate the situation. So we never gave up. We never had despair. We never got angry. We always responded back with unity and strategy. Now, the African American community does not have unity, and I'm not even blaming them because it looks like the powers that be are seeking to cause a disunity against them. But the fact that you go to Chicago and everyone's shooting each other over there, obviously we could say where the drugs come, where the guns come from, probably from not from these guys. It was given to them to cause this to happen. But the power to heal and unite comes from within. It's not going to come from the white man. It's going to come from within your community where you guys say, hey, the only way out of this miserable situation is as a nation. So whether that's a good leader that's going to arise or some type of repentance, it's not going to come from anywhere else besides yourself, your salvation.
Are you aware though of like what happened in this country with Black America? Because every time, and no excuse, but every time we tried to build up and do for ourselves and strategize, got burned down by this government. Are you aware
So
of all
there's
those
Black Wall Street, and with the advent of the crack cocaine and the crystal meth and the laws that arrest them, the for-profit prison companies that
Right.
are making
Those
businesses
are
out of
atrocities.
yeah.
Those are things. Those are things that happen. It's just like Jewish people killed. Media propaganda against us. All the same thing is happening to Black people in America. Still.
Yes, you're up against a tremendous battle, and you need a very masterful leader to unite you guys together to be a force that no one can mess with. Imagine if you had your own ADL, that anytime someone stepped out of line with your community, that you guys had a unified voice, and everyone, all your celebrities, all your rappers pooled all your money together for this one organization. So that's what the Jewish people is. We're just one unified ball of energy. Everyone gives their $1 million checks to these organizations to protect us, and we're unified. You don't see fighting amongst the Jewish people like this. So I think if the African American, and Kanye mentioned this, he's like, we got to learn from the Jews how to be a nation, how to be a people. And I think that would be the most beautiful thing. I'm rooting for the African American community to unite and become a people.